Good morning, grade 8. When you're going to get this lesson, then it will be a pre-recorded lesson because it is load shedding this morning with me. So, yeah, so I've pre-recorded the lesson and the host will play it for you guys. But a very good morning to each and every one. You will see the topic that we're going to do is about source documents. It might be something that some of you have done earlier this year, but if you have done it, then you can just see it as revision. It's important to know what is the different source documents that you're going to have and how to complete those source documents. Right, so for a start, what is a source document? A definition. A source document is the original document that contains the details of a business transaction. A source document captures the key information about the transaction, such as the names of the parties involved, amounts paid, the date, and the substance of the transaction. Okay, so what it is basically saying is when a business transaction is happening, then all those information you must put onto a document, a source document, and that information we're going to talk about is names of peoples or businesses are involved, the amounts are involved, the date of the transaction is involved, and what the transaction is all about. Then I give you some examples there of source documents like a receipt, a check, invoice, a cash slip, a cash register roll, bank statement, etc. So that is just examples of different types of source documents. So on this slide, what is important is the definition of a source document and what is the examples of source documents. All right, so we're going to start with the first one. That will be the receipt. So every time you guys will see there's going to be like a definition of that particular source document, and then I will give you a basic picture of it. And then with the next slideshow, then we're going to complete one like the receipt, for instance. So first of all, what is a receipt? A receipt is a document acknowledging that a person has received money or property in payment following a sale or other transfer of goods or provision of a service. All receipts must have the date of purchase on them. Okay, so let's say, for instance, your mother goes to the school to pay your school fees. Then at the finance office, the lady there will take the money and she will write out a receipt as proof that your mother has paid, and she will give that receipt to your mother. That is a transaction happening. That is why that transaction must be recorded onto a source document. So now you can think for yourself, what was involved there? Right. Of course, the date when your mother paid it, the amount that your mother paid, your mother's name must be on the receipt. The person that has written out the receipt must sign the receipt as proof. They will indicate on the receipt for what was the money for. So it will stand there, it's going to be for school fees. So you will see I've put there a picture of a receipt for you. So think of what we have said with the information, and then you will check this. For instance, right at the top, it's saying number. So every source document must have a number. Normally, it's already been printed there. And then you will see after that the date you need to fill in, from who did you receive the money. Then there's a block as well as a little line for the amount. So the amount you need to write out in words and in figures. And then if you go a little bit down there, the right hand side bottom there, for instance, you will see the person that wrote out the receipt must sign, for instance, there. And then on the right hand side, I've put the picture of a cash receipt book. I think if you see the picture, that is quite familiar to you guys. So you see there are 4 receipts on one page. So every time then the person that's writing out the receipt will tear off the top part, that's the original one, giving it to the client or to the person that was giving the money, and automatically there will be then a duplicate in the book, and then the business will complete their journals from the duplicate that is inside the book. Okay, Now let's go and complete a receipt. I've given you a transaction there, and then look at, okay, we're just going to talk through how you're going to enter those open spaces. But let's first look at the transaction. The owner invested capital in the business of 50,000 on the 10th of June 2020. Okay, and there's your receipt. You will see it's already printed receipt number 1. It's important to see that every source document has a number. Then, if you need to write in the date, what will be the date? The 10th of June 2020. Received from who did you receive the money? From the owner, because I didn't mention here the name of the owner, so you can just write there the owner. The sum of, and now you need to write the amount out in words, 50,000 rand. And then on the right hand side, there's an open column there, and there the 50,000 must be in figures. For what is it? It is for capital, so you write there for capital, and then there's a little dotted line saying with thanks. So on that dotted line, the person that was writing out the receipt must sign there. So again, see the important detail that is necessary to complete a receipt. The date, from who did you receive it, the amount in figures and in words, for what was it, like in this case for capital, and then the person writing out the receipt must sign, normally there where it says with thanks. If we go to the check and check counterfoil, now first of all, what's the definition of it? They say a counterfoil of a check is that part of a check which is torn off and kept as a receipt by the drawer of a check to serve a piece of evidence or proof for having made the payment. Okay, if we look at the example, then I will explain it to you. Right in front of you, the bigger part, let's say on the right hand side, the one that is quite saying ABC Bank, that is your check. Okay, and then the small little part on the left hand side, that is what we call your check counterfoil. Now, what normally happens is, let's say we want to go and pay the municipality the water and electricity bill. Then you're going to write out the check, you're going to tear it off and you give it to the municipality. But the same details that is on the check will also be on the check counterfoil, that small left-hand side part. And then that small part stays in the checkbook. So when you get back to the business and you want to write these details in, like in the journals, then you're going to get all the information from the check counterfoil. Right. So look, for instance, you will see on both sides, the check and the check counterfoil. The date is going to be the same, the 1st of March 2005. Who did you pay? Office decorators. You will see it on both sides. The amount, 570 Rand, is on both sides. On the check, it's going to be in words and figures. If we look at the check, then you'll see there's also a signature, a person from Handyman Hardware Store signed there. And then if you look quite at the bottom, you will see on both sides the number 105. That is going to be your check number. Remember, I said every source document must have a document number. So in this case, it's 105. And then, yeah, the rest of the information is not so important for now. Right, so let's go and complete the check. Let's say we make our own transaction here. Let's say we're going to pay the telephone bill to Telkom of 2,000 Rand. Okay, so you guys see there on the right hand side, there's space for date. So you can write in today's date, for instance, there. Pay, I said we're going to pay Telkom, and then the sum of, and then you must write out the amount, 2,000 Rand in words, and in that little block with a rand sign, you need to write it in figures. And then you will see there standing a line H declared. That is the person that was writing out the check. So that person must sign there. Okay, I didn't put a check counterfoil here, but basically on the check counterfoil, again, the date will be there, the pay Telkom will be there, the amount will be there, the 2,000 Rand. Okay. When we get into the deposit slip, Okay, sorry, I see now that I didn't put the definition there for the deposit slip, but the picture is there. Okay, but let me explain to you what is a deposit slip all about. When you go into deposit money into a bank account, so let's say you have 500 Rand and you go to the bank and you want to deposit it into somebody else's account, then you must complete a deposit slip. Now, a deposit slip is actually starting to fall away. This was there for millions and millions of years, but nowadays the bank only accepts that you give basically the information and then they put everything on the system. So you don't really have to complete a deposit slip anymore, but you still have to know about this. So on the deposit slip, you will see again there, if you look at the picture, there must be a date that must be written in. Then there's some space for the name, so to who the money must go to. After that, the account number, that's the bank account number where the money must go to in. On the right hand side, there's a lot of small blocks there. Then you will see there will be space for cash and checks. So if it is like cash money that you pay in, let's say 200 Rand, then you will write that amount there. If it is a check, then you will write the amount of the check next to checks. And then you're just going to add it up. So you're going to have a subtotal and a total at the end of the day. And of course, somewhere on the deposit slip, they will indicate like what is the bank's name, like the money bank, for instance. So those other details will still be there on the deposit slip. Right, so important things there. So let's see how to complete one. I've put, or I tried to put an example of a deposit slip of Standard Bank there. Quite not so clear, but you will get an idea. So if we start right at the top on the right hand side, there's a date that you need to enter, the date on which you're going to deposit the money. If we go to the left hand side, okay, first of all, you can't really see, but there's a name, so to who the money must go to. And after that, the bank account number of that person. The details after that, still on the left hand side, is normally the person that of details of the person who's paying the money in. So for instance, if you pay money in, then your name, your contact number, etc. will be there. Getting back to the right hand side with that small little blocks, okay, I can see the amount is 500 Rand. If it is cash, then you will write it next to cash. If it is notes, then you will write it next to notes, for instance. And if it is a check, then you will go a little bit down to the next bigger block, then you will write the check information there. So in this case, it looks like it was notes, 500 Rand notes. So the 500 Rand was written in with notes, and then you just get the total of it. Right, then the invoice. Okay. Okay, I can see every time, I don't know why it has been done like this. The definition is going back the whole time now to the check counter for. Okay, but the invoice is basically when a person is buying things on credit with you, then you write an invoice out to that person. So that person get an idea of how much he owes you, but he's only going to pay you at a later stage. So all the items that he's purchasing on credit will be indicated on that invoice and what the amounts of that is. So I've tried to put a picture there for you guys of an invoice. Not so clear, but basically you will just see like there at the right hand side in that little circle, that's basically the name of the business. Then there will be after that a lot of address and contact details. And then you will see if you go down, there's like 1, 2, 3. So that was the quantity of the things that was purchased. After that, there's a description of what was purchased. And after that, you might see there will be 2 amount columns. The one is the unit price and the other one is the total price. So let's say you were purchasing 2 boxes of paper. Then with the unit price, they will indicate the 1 box price, but with the total price is the total price of the 2 boxes. Okay, this one I think is quite more clear. So how do you complete an invoice? So again, of course, invoice will be indicated on the source document. Then there on the left-hand side where you just see the blue and the black boxes now. That will be like the name of the business, the address, and the contact numbers of the business. On the right-hand side, after invoice, you will see there are space for today's date and an invoice number. And then with description, quantity, unit price, and total is the place where you're going to write in what that person purchased on credit. That will be with description. Quantity, how much he purchased. Unit price is what is the price of one item. And the total is if we have purchased, let's say, 5 things of the same thing, then you write the total price in there. And then you will just at the bottom get the big total at the end of the day and how much you will pay at a later stage. And that is basically how you complete the invoice. All right, so overall, I'm going to recap now on this, but this is the source documents and how to complete them. So if we can just go back. Okay, so first of all, important is to know what is the definition of a source document, and that is a document where the business transaction is going to be written in, things like the names of the people, the amounts, the date, what the transaction is all about, that must be entered onto the source document. And examples of source documents are receipt, check, invoice, cash slip, cash register, bank statement, etc. Then we're going to look at a few of those source documents. We've started with the receipt. So again, what is important is that you need to know the definition and how to complete that source document. So receipt is just a document to say that you have received money and that that person has paid, and you give a receipt back as proof of payment. Okay, and then how to complete the receipt. Like I said, you need to fill in the date, from who did you receive the money, the amount in words and figures, and for what was it, and the person must sign who is writing out the receipt. And like in this case, you will see number 1, because every source document is having a specific document number. With the check and the check counter form, all right, so basically, so when you're going to pay something, then you will write those details on the check, you tear the check off, you give it to that person, and what is staying behind in the checkbook is that small piece on the left-hand side, what we call the check counter for. But all the details that was on the check will also be on the check counter for. So you can check there, for instance, the same dates is there. Who you pay, that name will be there. The amount will be on both sides, and on the check it will be in words and in figures. On the check as well, the person who's writing out the check, the signature must be there. And again, if you look at this particular one, that 105 at the bottom, that is that source documents number. Okay, and there was just another check how you completed. With the deposit slip, as I said, that is something that's busy actually phasing out. But the deposit slip is when you want to deposit money into somebody's bank account, then you are actually supposed to complete a document like this. Just again, the date will be indicated, the name of the person or the business to who the money must go to, and their bank account number. And normally on the right-hand side, you write the amounts in, and if it is cash, you write it under cash, or if it is, for instance, notes and coins, then there will be space to write the total notes and the total coins in. And if it is a check, then there will be space where you can go and write the check's information in, and then you just have to get the total of it. And then with the invoice, okay, invoice is basically when somebody is buying items on credit with you, then you are going to give an invoice to that person. So that person can know how much he owes you. So on that invoice still, if I can just go to that one, I think that's a better one. Then you will get the business name and contact details at the top. The date will also be there. And then with description, you're going to list all the things that was purchased on credit, quantity, how much it was, unit price, what it will cost per item. Total price is the total price of all the items. And then you just again add it up. Right, so basically, you guys, that was it for today. As I say, I've done it very quick and short now because I only heard that actually a few minutes ago or a while ago that we will have the load shedding. So I've tried to quickly pre-record it for you guys as well. All right. If there's any questions, please put your question, write it down for yourself on a piece of paper. And then tomorrow when we're going to have class again, then you can just put those questions in the box for me and then we can answer those questions for you guys. All right, people. Otherwise, thank you very much. Sorry about the load shedding. And then I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.